Hi, in today's episode of Culture Shock, we'll be discussing Irish art and music by queer creatives. My name is Ciara.
I'm Tara.
And I'm Karen.
And I'm going to be your host for today. So I just wanted to start by asking you guys if you have any favourite queer Irish creatives or have had any chance to explore the scene at all.
There's this one drag queen that I have seen. I'm not sure if you know her. Her name is Viola Gavis.
Oh, I've heard of her.
Gavis,
yeah.
It's one of my favourite drag names.
Yeah, I've seen her perform a few times and it's very good. Very, very good.
For me, like, I'd say musician-wise, I'd only know, like, the likes of, like, Orla Garland.
Yeah.
And, like, we don't have a huge queer musician scene, I don't think.
No. And I definitely noticed that while doing my research for this episode. I was like, where are the queer musicians? Where are historical queer musicians? We have none.
No.
No, we have none.
We've very few.
No, very few, yeah. Not to, like, toot my own horn, but I would consider myself a creative, an artist and a musician. I definitely feel like my experiences as a queer person influence the kind of work I make and how I choose to represent myself, and even just what I draw influences from. Like, how's the best way to describe this? Like, I love kind of, almost like hinting at it, being like, I'll write a song and I'll be like, haha, if you're also bisexual, you'll get this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it is upsetting that we don't have a lot of...
No, we don't have, we don't have a big enough scene to kind of be able to do, like, workshops or anything, like, with musicians. Yeah. But I feel like in terms of, like, artists, like, painters and stuff like that, and then, like, tattoo artists and stuff, we've so many of them. In the country.
Jamie Lowe was a great example of that. He's one of my favourite tattoo artists. Hi Jamie, I love you, tattoo me please. An openly queer man who does absolutely stunning tattoos.
Yeah, like in terms of like just like creative, like non-musician artists, we have like such a huge scene. Like I've seen like workshops and stuff done before in Dublin, like with tattooists.
Yesterday.
Yeah, so like basically our year went to IMA. Well, some of our year went to IMA yesterday, so the Irish Museum of Modern Art, if you're unaware. And I was surprised that like most of the gallery work that was going on, like the exhibitions, were about like queer culture in Ireland. So like I took loads of pictures and it was really like insightful. They had like a lot of like old like Sony TVs, like the box ones, and they were showing like clips from like the 80s and everything like that, and like about the AIDS epidemic, and like it was just really cool to kind of see something like that in Ireland, because we don't kind of talk about that time as much, and like all the artists were queer, and I took like loads of pictures of like their names and the description of like their art and everything, and it was just really like cool to see something like that.
Yeah.
But like it was funny because like then outside IMA, like in the courtyard, these two women came up to a group of us like talking about Jesus, and we were like, this is such a like polar opposite from going inside, and all these people are outside being like trying to like get us to repent, and I was like, this is so weird. Like
it is such a funny thing, because Ireland is known for like its creatives, like we're known for our musicians, we're known for our poets, our artists, and then you look for the queer ones and it's like, where are we?
Yeah.
Like we haven't had that chance yet to really like get that sort of success. Like the only person I can think of is Orla Garland, who's gotten a lot of success, who's for those of you who don't know, bisexual musician from Ireland.
And she lives in England now.
She lives in England
because
now.
she can get like a lot more like gigs and stuff over there.
Because that's also the issue.
Yeah. It's so underfunded.
So underfunded. It's impossible. But yeah, she got her start on YouTube, didn't she?
Yeah. It was YouTube, and then she was like making covers and then kind of doing her own songs.
Exactly.
But she has like 2 albums out now?
2 albums.
Yeah, I think so.
And even at that, like when I think of my friends who are artists, like one of my best friends, Matt, is an artist. He works in a lot of digital and does oil painting as well, and they sell their art. I'll include a link. Even at that, like, he kind of combines that like creepy and cute aesthetic.
Yeah.
But there's never like how do I describe this? There's never a moment where it's like, here's all these queer artists all together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would love that. Like, I have so many friends who are queer and artists, and I would love to just see their work together. Not because they're all my friends, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like just somewhere where
like
we
I
can
feel
go.
like the music industry and like just the arts industry and everything, like it's so underfunded by the government that people have to immigrate to get any type of work.
Yeah.
And also queer artists aren't represented enough in the media in Ireland, so I feel like there's so many queer artists that we probably just don't know about that are like, you know, doing like tiny gigs in their
Yeah.
towns and everything and like trying to kind of make it, but they are kind of just, I feel like they're not given the same chances as like a straight artist or a
No.
cis artist or like, you know, like a white male artist, because we have
Yes.
so many of those in the country and like so many like predominantly white bands and everything.
Yeah. That's another thing I wanted to bring up, because I was looking around to see if there were any other queer Irish musicians I hadn't heard of, and I was taking a listen to some people's music. So 2 people I would like to, what would the word be, shed a light on,
Yeah.
would be
promote, I'd say.
an Irish rapper who's a lesbian. Her name is
Oh, cool.
Cammy. And then Bobby Arlo, a queer singer and songwriter from Wicklow. So these two people create wonderful music, and they happen to be queer. Obviously not absolutely everything they write is about queer experiences, but very incredibly talented if you're looking for something new to listen to, especially in the Irish music scene. And I'd never heard of these people before. And I was reading articles, and I was like, I'll have a listen to them. And I was like, okay, okay, this is enjoyable. But it's really a shame that we don't have these platforms where it's like, here's, you know, queer musician night, or even...
And even if there is like stuff like that go on, like they're obviously not promoted enough that
No.
we wouldn't even hear about it, and like we all like live in Dublin, like or
Yeah.
around Dublin, so it's like, and then I feel like there's only like very few like LGBT like gay bars in Dublin. There's like Panty Bar, and then there's the George, but like they're predominantly like bars and nightclubs, like they wouldn't have gigs or
Yeah.
anything, so there's not like an actual pub like the Workman's or something like that you can have gigs
Yeah.
in, like that is just like predominantly gay.
We could take over Workman's though.
Yeah.
Make Workman's gay.
Workman's downstairs.
Yeah, it is such a shame, because it's one of those things that upsets me. It's like when you talk about being queer, there's this assumption that you're always in nightclubs and that's what queer culture is,
Yeah.
and that's what our art is. We're all drag queens. And I'm like, no,
That's not.
and not every queer person spends their weekends in nightclubs. I go to gigs on the weekends. I sit at home and I write music, and it's one of those things I really want to dispel, because hey, I love nightlife. I love, you know.
And then it's the thing of like, is it, you know, safe enough for a lot of like LGBT people, especially like trans people
Yeah.
in the cities, to go out? Because I heard like, I still hear stories about people going to the George and there's people waiting outside just to kind of like pick on them, or
Yeah.
you know, just see like who's trans, and like, you know, just to kind of like, you know, point out people and like kind of just project their whatever like internal shit on them.
Exactly.
And just people like ended up being like bed up and everything like that. Like it's still not 100% safe for people, I think, still, especially in like big cities, and like especially in like certain areas of Dublin too. So there is that as well. So it's like, yeah, we do have a nightlife, but it's not 100% safe for us.
Yeah.
And you know, we just kind of want something like that we can just go and like, not a nightclub.
Yeah.
You know.
And it, you know, get together, enjoy some artwork from other queer people, and it's just a good, like, especially as someone who goes to gigs a lot, it's such a good bonding experience for the people you're with.
Yeah, you
know?
finally kind of feel like you have like a good community, and like
Yeah.
people kind of understand you. And I feel like in Ireland we lack that, and we're not given that opportunity.
And like, as Irish people, that's what we bond over. Again, as I said, like, we're known for our music, our art, our poetry, and it's just very upsetting as a queer Irish person to not see the work that we're doing being highlighted, because it's just as good, if not better, than what the rest of them are doing, you know? And it's one of those things that I'm amazed that we still don't have. It's like, we have famous Irish drag queens, we have famous Irish gay people, but where's our famous Irish gay musician?
Yeah,
You know?
that's true.
And like, I feel like I saw on the news or like on my phone the other day that the government is trying to fund like the music and arts industry, and people could get up to like 400-500 a week or something like that. I might be wrong, but like that's only for people that are like middle class, that, you know, wouldn't predominant, like they'd be like predominantly white and predominantly like male, and most likely like a lot of them would be straight. So you're kind of just funding like people that would be in bands that we've kind of heard before.
Yeah.
You know,
it's funding the same experiences. And as someone who goes to gigs all the time, I don't need to hear another song by like a white boy from BIM who spends his weekends in Workman's. It's like, I know what you're writing about, okay? Do you want to hear what I have to say? And they're all like, no, we don't want to hear what you have to say. And it's very upsetting because it's a really nice way to, you know, share your experiences, and it'd be nice to get different experiences, not just white boy from BIM.
Yeah, and that's even such a like not stereotype, but like when you think of like music colleges and stuff like BIM, you just think of like the edgy like white guy who like wants to like talk about like all his like experiences with girls. And, you know, it's like everyone kind of knows like the stereotypical guy that would come out of like music colleges like that, so it's still very like overpowered by like, you know, the patriarchy and everything. And like even like a lot of the lectures in BIM, like I don't hear of anyone that's kind of queer themselves or in like, you know, a, you know, multicultural band or anything like that. So it's very much like white guys in bands.
Lacking diversity.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we really need, you know, in our art and in our music, because that fundamentally is what this country is, you know. We're not a country of exclusively straight cis white people, and some of our greatest artists of the moment, in my opinion, are none of those things. But they are not getting the appreciation that they deserve, and they're not getting the time that they deserve from like venues, from producers, from like record promoters. Like it's already a hard industry to get into, whether you're looking at getting into like tattooing or photography, or you're looking at getting into music. It's such a difficult industry. But then there's even more boundaries put upon you when you are queer, when you are trans, non-binary, when you're not white. You know, it's more things stacked on top of each other. And we just need to break that barrier, because it's disheartening. And it just creates a cycle of like the same experiences being showed off over and over and over again. Like off the top of my head, I can think of like 4 bands that are like relatively popular in this country that sound the exact same.
Yeah, we're probably thinking of the same.
We're probably all thinking of the same ones. Like,
not to call anyone out, but
we're not gonna call anybody out. But oh my god, we need.
And I've heard like from one of the bands I'm thinking of, like I've still like heard of stories about like them mistreating women and stuff. So it's like still that cycle of that as well.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking like, I know like once I leave, like when the podcast is done today, I know like when I'm